Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson, with more than 2 decades in sales. I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. And today's episode is very, very special, super duper excited. It is a first-time 2-part guest episode where we've got 2 amazing people in the house. I've got my friends, Mr. Reid Anderson and his amazing wife, Grace. Welcome to the show, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Drewbie.
Thank you for that awesome welcome. We're excited to be here.
I am excited to have you guys. One of the things that's been really fun about my journey getting to know Reid is seeing he is an action taker. Like, literally, dude, we had one call. He's like, yep, I'm in. Let's freaking crush it. And now we're, I think, almost a year, maybe 2 years since that initial conversation. And I have got to see you do some really, really amazing things. But I want to start with, give me a crazy sales story from before I met you, Reid.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think we're at about 2 years now since then. And a lot's happened, man. I've grown a lot in my sales journey and been able to use that to open so many different avenues. A crazy sales story. It's not as funny as I would like, but I think about it almost on a daily basis as I speak with guys and train with guys. There was a middle-aged woman who was a single lady, and she had 2 kids. And in my sales journey, you know, I tended to be a yes man in the beginning and kind of give in to whatever every customer needed, just to think that that's what it took to get business. It's not, and you'll learn that. And it runs you ragged. And I took her situation in mind, of course, and I had a ton of sympathy. And we do roofing. And back then I did roofing as well. And next thing you knew, I was a tree trimming guy. And I was a weed trimmer guy in her driveway. And I tell you what, I changed the water filter in her refrigerator. And unbelievable. Anyway, I trimmed trees for her and all this different shit. And it was just, I felt like I was doing good. Well, come to find out, yes, Drewbie, it's been about 2 years. She called me, man, I want to say about a month, maybe 2 months ago. I'm not positive the timeline. And she was mad at me for something that went on with her tree that I trimmed. And her and I have not spoke for many years since, and this was very recent, a recent phone call. And I haven't sold in her market, in her city, no conversation, but I got a phone call. And she told me about the trees, and then she said something about how the shingles we installed before, ducks never got on her roof. And now, since we installed the roof, since then, there's duck shit everywhere, and there's ducks on her roof. This is a real story.
She probably just thinks you're cute and wanted you to hang out some more. I mean, I don't blame
know how
her.
she would think that. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you know, I never thought my sales career in roofing would turn into someone getting mad that I trimmed her trees a year and a half or whatever later. And then I'm on the same phone call. She says, you know, while I've got you, I might as well add in, ever since you guys installed this roof, these ducks have been all over my roof and they never were before. I mean, what do you say to that? I was speechless. I don't know. You never know what you're going to run into.
Oh, my Lord, have mercy. You know, and I'm going to lean on what Grace said. Maybe she just needed her handyman back in the building.
Maybe so. I don't know.
But I love that point, though, because there are so many people in their sales journey right now who are listening to this, and they're probably listening to it while they're trimming those bushes and doing these weird tasks for somebody that they're like, this is not even anywhere within my responsibility. Why am I doing this? We're going to circle back on that. I'm going to write that down because I know, Grace, I want to hear your crazy sales story, too, because I know that you got something for us, too.
Oh, she does. She's got some.
Oh, boy. No pressure. I love going door to door. I know there's not a ton of people who love it, but I love it. I talk to everybody and their dogs, right? Especially their dogs, honestly. Whenever I was first starting out door to door, I was going to a neighborhood, generally friendly neighborhood, but there was the HOA, and you know how it goes whenever you're in a neighborhood that has a HOA. Things are really by the books. Well, I went up to somebody's home, and this gentleman comes out with a badge on his hip. And he goes, excuse me, ma'am, where's your permit? I'm about to call the police. And I'm like, oh, well, I just had to stop by. Did you know you had a hole in your roof? And he said, what do you mean? Turns out this guy was the HOA president. There was somebody who had been complaining that there was door knockers in the area. And he decided to, grill me on all my accreditations. But it started out from, yelling at me for being on his property without correct permits or whatnot, to me ending up doing his roof and sitting in with his wife for about an hour talking about her quilting machine. I don't know anything about quilting, but just being able to get that one little deal turned into an entire neighborhood because he was the HOA president, and I was able to, get that neighborhood roofed because I was breaking the pattern of, the standard door-to-door guy, rather than some lady who was able to, step up and say, hey, you got a hole in your roof. I don't want to sell you anything, but just want to let you know. So not necessarily funny. I talked to a lot of different interesting individuals, but that's just one that sticks out because as a girl, you don't get yelled at by strange men all the time. But that was the one time that I definitely remember, but it worked out in the end.
I think that what's so funny about that, though, is that it's often the people who are the most abrasive up front that once you can get their guard down, they are also the most fun and empathetic. I don't know if you had that same experience, but I think a lot of people will put up a very big wall and a guard, and then once you can get past that, it's like they've had to create that guard because they are such giving, caring individuals that it's a defense mechanism. And that's one thing I would love to know, Reid, and this is a great transition kind of into in sales. I never really had to go door to door as running the streets like you guys do. So to me, I love these conversations because I've never had that same level of experience. I mean, I've worked with gatekeepers and all that, but never on the door. So what would you say, and I'm going to ask Reid first, what do you think is your superpower to help bring that guard down or kind of get past people's defenses?
Going door to door, you never know what you're going to run into. And like Grace said, there is a fun aspect to it. But it can be very mentally taxing. And so how do I get that guard down? I'd say some of the best door-to-door people, and when I was able to make this shift, you want to become someone that they wouldn't mind sitting down with for 30 minutes, having a beer with, or just relaxing with. And you're not going to achieve that by going straight into business. And so I'd say one of the biggest things when going door to door is to be witty, quick-witted, and very articulate when you speak. But it's very good to open and almost like it's a comedy show, find common ground, be funny with it, and let your personality come out a little bit. And yes, within that, there's a lot of body language that you want to get them to mirror quickly. If you stick your hand out and go for a handshake, that physical touch initially does a number for your door knock. It does get a guard down because it's almost like you kind of belong there. A lot of door-to-door reps will go to the door with papers in their hand, an iPad, or even on a one wheel or whatever the hell these guys do these days. I mean, we've all seen it. And it's almost bad. I almost make it seem like I'm just someone who was just walking in the neighborhood and I wanted to come by and say hello and let you know that I just saw a red flag. If you guys think it's a red flag too, we can continue to talk. But if not, no worries. I'm going to just head down the road and continue my walk. And I feel like if I have that mentality rather than, hey, I'm trying to sell you out of the gate, whether you want it or not, I open with just some personal conversation, maybe something funny, and get their guard down and then say, hey, well, look, the real reason I stopped by was, and look, before you slam the door in my face, just 30 seconds, take a look at this real quick. I noticed this going on. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this or had someone point it out, but in the past, I've seen to where that results in this. Does that kind of concern you a little bit? Oh, it does. Okay, perfect. And then we can kind of go into a little bit more. And if the answer is no, I'll talk about it and I'll say, hey, here's what we've run into. And if they don't want to hear it, they don't want to hear it. But you've got to win them over in the first 5-10 seconds. And also that goes into the way you present yourself too. People don't want to do business with scrubs. So you don't want to look, like a construction worker or a blue collar worker. You want to look like you were just looking for your golf ball in their front yard, wearing a nice shirt, nice pants, and just be presentable. But I've noticed, like Grace said, those people that are very abrupt in the beginning, the best way, open with a handshake and the biggest smile and just be so happy to be there. Because if you're so happy and you're nodding and you're already just going, hey, what's going on? It's really nice to meet you. My name's Reid. Man, those flowers you have in the front yard are beautiful. My wife and I are just wondering about who you used because we live nearby and we're looking for a landscaper as well. And then you open up into this conversation about the flowers. And however long you can carry that, the longer you carry it, the better. And that was just one off the cuff example. But when you have a house in front of you, there's always something you can find to relate to. Always.
I love that. Grace, what do you think? You got something different from that?
For me, it's a little bit different because, I mean, if you're a female going door to door, you have different advantages. But overall, the same principles stand. As a female, you are a break in the pattern, right? They're used to seeing guys, you know, who are showing up with their company logo on their polo, just saying like, hi, I'm Grace from Infinity Roofing or from blank roofing. It doesn't really matter who they are because it sounds like the exact same pitch. Well, when a female opens the door or is there when they open the door, they are like, what is she doing here? And you have a couple extra seconds. So I use those couple extra seconds. It's not, you know, that you get leads just because you're a girl. That's not how it works. Well, how it works is getting that extra time and utilizing it. So instead of, you know, being that nice, bubbly, sweet person that I could be at the doors by like, hey, oh my gosh, I love those lawn chairs at those Restoration Hardware. No, I'm not going to open with that because I need to show that I know what I'm talking about from the get-go. So it was a different approach for me. And this is what I teach the other female reps. I said, like, hey, I'm here for a very intentional purpose. Not like, oh, I was just in the neighborhood. Like Reid said, like, oh, I had to stop by because of blank reason. So for me, I make sure like, hey, I'm Grace, but I just had to introduce myself because I noticed a few things. Come take a look. And I want to make sure that I initially just have that place of power within that pitch saying like, hey, I had to stop by and talk to you specifically because of these specific things that I see. It's not like, oh, I'm just in the neighborhood, just like hoping you're having a great day. Because as a female, you're going to get taken a little less seriously if you don't go kind of for the kill pretty close to the very beginning there. So it's a little bit of a different approach, but that same look about you, all sales professional, this is kind of sounds funny, but whenever I teach other people how to recruit for sales, the one key thing that Reid and I have kind of determined that makes a good salesperson is from the interview is if they are presentable enough to be able to pick up somebody from a bar and take them home. You know what I'm saying? And so this is what we mean by that. Presenting yourself in a way that if you have good looks, you do have a couple extra seconds. But you have to be witty and you have to be personable and maintain their attention enough to get to the close, right? But if you're lacking in looks, lacking in anything, you have to make up for it in wit and being quick on those responses at the doors or in any type of sales position, right? So if you're witty enough, you can make the close, whether you're taking someone home or closing a deal at the door.
Funny is money. That's what I've been told.
Hey.
And I like to lean on that because, like, it's true. I mean, and Reid and I can kind of, we fit this because we're both covered in tattoos. We both kind of have a look of, I don't know, is this guy here to rob me or is he actually going to help me put a roof on my, like, I don't know.
Yes.
And I'm judging because you and me are the same, Reid. I'm not judging because I'm judging. I'm judging because this is how it is. I get it, right? But I love how, Grace, you also approach that it's about authority. Because when we approach, we do have more of an authoritative stance. Whether they know us or not, they immediately look and go, man, these guys aren't somebody to be messed with. Whereas, right. and again, I don't have this perspective because I'm not a female, but I love how you approach it and say, hey, even though I could lean on that, I don't because I don't want to give them the wrong impression or set the wrong intention. And with sales, especially building rapport and when you're on the doors, as you have to make sure that there's relatability and also authority, because if they can walk all over you, they will. And that's typically where they'll control the conversation. And as a professional, I think you did a great job of alluding to like, hey, I don't want to give them the chance to take control right off the rip. I want them to know I'm there for a reason. And then we can kind of move into the more friendly relationship side, but let's not get it twisted from the start. So I think that's really, really powerful. And what I would love to know, and Grace, I'm going to ask you this question first around, when it comes to recruiting, because this is one of the things I think a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs that I speak to right now, they seem to find that the hardest thing to do is get people to come and work for them and to actually work hard once they're there. So you mentioned a little bit some of the things you're looking for as far as aesthetic and ability to communicate, I think is a great way to put it. What are you doing to help bring in people who are excited to be a part of what you guys have been going on at Infinity?
So the main thing that I tell people to look for is keep your core values at the front of your mind. So if it's excellence, if it's accountability, if it's leadership, whatever your core values are, you have those in the forefront of your mind. And instead of just saying like, oh, like what are some things that are important to you? Don't let them know your core values ahead of time. If they're going to fit your company culture and they are going to work hard and stay excited in the job, they're going to stay excited in the company culture. For example, if your core value is excellence, you ask them, so how are you pursuing excellence in your life right now? And if they immediately have an answer, whether it's in the gym, whether it's I like to read books, listen to podcasts, whatever it is, if they have an immediate response of how they're pursuing that core value, that's one check mark and they're going to fit in well here. So knowing that they're going to fit in well from the very get-go, that's going to have them continue to succeed in your company while they're learning, right? Because sales, you can teach sales. You can't teach character. So that's the biggest thing, is making sure that they align with your character of your company immediately off the bat. I mean, actually getting them to close the deals, that's up to you as a leader, and that's up to your training, right? But having those core values that are really, and there's like probably 50 other different things that you really can fine tune to make sure you get the exact right hires. But those are the foundation of what makes a good hire.
Yeah, I think culture and core values is a huge part. And that's something that if you've never experienced exactly, it's hard to implement right away. It's something you kind of have to do and screw up a few times before it really starts sinking in and making sense to even in the people on staff at the highest level. I mean, I've been in organizations where the core values are something that are hammered every single day, every single week. And there are still people that are at the upper echelon that are like, yeah, we got core values. And it's like, okay, but what are they? And I'm like, well, this and that.
Yes.
And you can see how those organizations, they may do well for a season, but there are times where it's like, hey, if everyone isn't 100% bought in and have that diehard belief in these things, you're going to start to see cracks in the armor. And so, Reid, what do you think you guys are doing differently? Because you're growing at a massive pace. I mean, you have teams and markets opening up all over the place. Grace was just sharing some of the good news about like another market that you're moving into.
Yeah.
So what are you doing to make sure that as they come on board, you know they've got the core values and the culture fit, but what do you think you're doing different to maintain that over time? Because it's easy to have it at first, but as things get tough, as you get out there and get told no and you're learning and getting burned by underwriting and shithead adjusters that don't want to give you what you need to get the deal done, how do you keep them in line with those core values and that culture?
Well, there's two parts to this question. And part one is when you're in one specific market and you've got a team, 15, 20, 30 people, you're able to have in-person meetings and you're able to clearly in person remind everybody of the vision, why we're all here, and what the whole end goal is. And if you can keep that top of mind, people's morale stays up and they're able to learn the discipline from you, the leader, not just be motivated, but go out there and have the discipline to do what needs to be done because they're close to you in proximity and see how you operate. Now, you take this out of market, and like Grace maybe was telling you, Utah's next on the list. We're flying out next week. And then Virginia as well. We've already got everything going there. They've just been hit with a storm. We've got everything needed. We've got our office and everything. We're turning and burning. Well, me being in Houston, how do we build culture out there? Well, the beauty of today is that they can see everything I do because we all have social media. And I think that when I was running a team and it was my old company, half or even a third of the size of this, I found like I don't need social media. I see these guys every day. I can talk to them about my life events. They can see, we can have team workouts together. We can all be in the gym. We can have these conversations. We can be in the office. We can do one-on-ones. I can come meet you at this appointment. You can watch me do it. That's somewhat simple. You have to lead by example in that setting. Of course, you have to lead by example. You have to constantly keep your vision top of mind, remind people, and live it yourself, right? Mm-hmm. If your vision is we want to be in better health, we always want to serve our customers, and you're not in the best health, you have a drinking problem, you're overweight, your house isn't in order, your marriage isn't in order, no one's going to fucking follow you, okay? And so that when you got that one market type situation, it's a little more manageable. But now I'm having to learn how to leverage social media to where people that I am leading and in charge of building the vision for, they need to be able to see it, not just in my professional life over the Zoom calls we do, which are great, Zoom's great, but they need to see when I'm at home, how early I'm up, when I'm in the gym, what I'm doing, and they're able to see, hey, I've got a Zoom call with this guy in 3 hours, and this motherfucker's already done his workout, his prayer time, and he's already in the office. You know what? Whatever this guy has to say on Zoom, I may want to listen because it seems like he's got his stuff in line. And if that's my leader, then you know what? I'm going to listen to what he has to say because he's done what I did and he's not afraid to keep doing it. And he is still doing it. And that's how you keep leading. It is so much through example and through your personal life as you continue to grow and lead bigger and bigger groups of people. It's less and less the work. It's more the personal life and the development of you as an individual in the leadership role. And getting people to stay motivated and keep selling is you got to live that shit every fucking day, day in and day out. And you've got to keep clearly articulating why we're all fucking here and what we're all here to do. And I feel like that's the biggest thing.
Boo! My man was on one, and I loved every second of it because you're 100% right. It is a daily process, not weekly, not monthly, daily process. And one of the things that I love that you said is that it's about the individual. And it's about being in the right room with the right people, having the right conversation so the right things can keep happening. And one thing I know you guys are getting ready to do here soon is have, I'm going to say biasly, the best daggum roofing event this year. Tell me a little bit about that, man. What made you decide to host an event? I know you're doing amazing things. You're crazy busy. What do you got going down?
Man, I feel like we have gotten to a level at Infinity that we want to give back. We're cranking out more than 4,000 roofs a year. Even with all the rain this week, we're cranking out over 60 roofs nationwide this week with all the rain and hurricanes going on. We're cranking out 90 on a good weathered week, getting close to 100. And it's like, you know what? We're going to keep growing and doing our thing. And we've got that going and we've got our systems in place. Now let's give back because roofing is kind of like the Wild West, and there's a lot of shady shit that goes on and a lot of things that homeowners aren't aware of. And so if we have the opportunity to make our fellow contractors better and provide them the correct way to operate in business and to do the things that we do and duplicate it, there's enough roofs out there for everybody, Drewbie. There is, okay? And we don't need to fight tooth and nail and be angry at each other. This is for anyone who's in the industry to come and learn from the best in the industry on what they do so we can all generate more income and help more people across the nation. Because as much as I hate to say it, Infinity Roofing can't do everybody's roof, okay? And I fully understand that.
I was just saying, I love and appreciate that. And Grace, I would love to know when you guys had this idea. We've been to events. I know we've known each other for a couple of years now. I've seen the growth of both of you on social media. We've been to a lot of events in the same kind of communities. What are you going to do different at this event than every other roofing event you and I know has gone on recently?
So for us, it's really not, we don't have anything to gain from this event. All that we have to give is our expertise, our knowledge, our personal stories. We are ready to pour into the community that we have really excelled in. So it's not like we're looking to sell anything. We're not looking to gain recognition. We're looking to really give back at this type of event. That's how, the tickets are free for the people who want to come. And a lot of times people are like, oh, it's free. It's like, oh, I bet there's a catch. Like, what are they going to try to sell us? Like, no, there's no catch. We just want to pour into this community because if we are, at the front of the industry, teaching others how to be better, I can't help but think that pouring into other people and teaching others is one thing that God asks us to do, is help other people. And I feel like we're called to do that. So something that is along those lines of just you're giving without expecting to get anything back. You're going to really see that in every single person who's giving their time to be there and pouring into every single brain that's in that room.
I love that. And I always, and I'm going to share this quote with you. You feel free to steal it and use it because I don't know where I got it from, but I use it all the time. But it's when you pour into the cups of others, you're simply making room for people to pour back into your cup. And what I know is the people up top, they're constantly pouring out. And if you got room, they'll keep pouring into you. And that's what I love about what you are doing here, y'all, is that you're putting something together. You are at, in my opinion, the top of your game and just continually getting better. And I see this abundance. I see you continuing to pour out and to give back to the community. I see every day. I love watching the two of you on social media because you inspire me to get up and get my butt moving, because you're an hour behind, you're an hour behind me in Texas now. So I'm like, I got to get up before them. That means I got to be up at 3 because they're in that freaking driveway with them weights doing cardio at like 4. Dadgummit, I got some work to do. But no, I really appreciate having the pleasure to watch your journey, to see you continue to give back to the community. And what is the best way, if someone's listening to this, maybe they're in roofing or they're considering it and they're in the DFW, Houston area, right? Or is it in DFW? Remind me. Houston. Okay. If you're in the Houston area, what is the best way to grab a ticket to get locked in to be a part of that event?
If you head to either of our social medias, if you look up Reid Anderson on Facebook, look up Grace Anderson on Facebook. We are posting that link to just reserve your seat pretty much every day. Same with other people who are speaking at the event. I know Tony Tavares is also speaking. He's putting his that link up there on his social media. Then that's public as well. So literally find us on social media. And if you can't find the link, DM us. We're 100% happy to connect you to get your spot reserved.
I love that. And I will be sure to make sure I drop that link down in the show notes and put it on the page when we send this out, because I have had the greatest time getting to meet you, to know you, to watch your journey, and to now see you continuing to take that knowledge and pour it back into the community has been absolutely amazing. Now, before I let you guys get out of here, I got one last question for each of you, and we're going to go ladies first on this one, Reid. I appreciate you being patient. But Grace, let's say someone's new in the industry. You've already given them a ton of great advice and knowledge on getting started, but maybe do you have just one thing that you would say to somebody to be more successful or to have a successful career in sales?
Yes. The one thing that I would tell you is don't let your highs be too high and your lows be too low. What I mean by that is don't let your success be determined by your circumstances, to where if you have a really great hot streak, you close 10 deals in a row. If you're out there celebrating those wins so badly or so great, and then you hit those lows are going to hurt so much more. Keep your head down, stay consistent. Know that you aren't to your goal yet. Your goal is so much greater than what you ever think it could be. So stay consistent. Don't let those emotions creep in, and those deals will just keep on coming.
Damn, Reid, you got you got a hard one to follow up, brother, but I think you're strong enough. What you got for us?
Man, for someone who needs to be successful, not necessarily in the beginning, my biggest thing, to take yourself to the next level, you have to be 100% comfortable with looking yourself in the mirror and being okay with figuring out what your deficiencies are and being honest with yourself. Because what got you here is not always what's going to get you where you need to go. And there are always changes and shifts that need to be made. And so I've found that the highest level individuals that I've had the blessing to work with are the ones who are 100% okay looking themselves in the mirror, and they're able to identify where they can improve, but also just as importantly, what they're doing right. And they're willing to take advice from anybody.
I freaking love that. And I think that's one of those things that only can be developed through time, effort, and energy, because, man, we can tell people this until we're blue in the face. And you and I both know we've had some amazing people that have come through and we thought the world was their oyster, but they didn't want to trust the process. They didn't want to be coachable. And ultimately, that's what's allowed the two of you to reach the level that you're on and to continue the absolutely crazy ride and the growth that you're experiencing, which I am so excited to be a part of in a small, small way. So if you're here with us today and you like the show and you're in roofing, you're in the Houston area, you want to be a part of the event, go grab the link from the show, reserve your seat, show up, pay attention to what Reid, Grace, and all of the other amazing speakers are going to share with you, and go and implement what you learned. That's the most important part, because we can tell you all of this, but if you don't do the work, you'll never get the result. Reid, Grace, thank you for being a great example of doing the work, for motivating and inspiring me to keep getting up and crushing it. And I know for setting the great example for that little baby you guys got there at home. So thank you for being here, a part of the show. Anything you guys need, you know where I'm at. You come and find me. Anything you want to leave before we get out of here today?
Call the damn leads.
That's what I'm talking about. Call the damn leads. You guys know what it is. Call the damn leads. If you have a great story, head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your information. We'd love to have you on the show. Until next time, we'll see you then.